I'm a sucker for romance. Always have been and probably always will be. I'm partially sighted, so I always plan ahead. Book an audio-described screening and bring my tissues.
1, 2, 3.
In a swimming pool, a young couple dive underwater.
At the bottom, she wanted to tell me a secret in exchange for one of mine. I only had the one.
He mouths to her, "I love you."
I don't even think it was a secret.
I rely on the audio description facility to really enjoy and fully understand what's happening on screen. So if when I'm in the cinema, the batteries die on my AD headphones, or if I miss the beginning of the movie because I have to wait for staff to find the kit or ask a manager how to use it, well, that can really ruin the whole film for me. It's frustrating because the AD is so essential to every film that I go to see. So if there are complications, it can make me feel as if I've made an unreasonable request.
He flops down on top of her. As he rolls off, he gives a satisfied smirk. He proffers a half-hearted kiss and turns away. She rolls her eyes and turns her back on him.
See? Disappointing service can make for a very disappointing experience.
Hi, I love going to the cinema with my mates and my friends of mine. I like westerns and cowboys. Hee-haw! Also, I like war films. A big explosion, machine guns, and it's really amazing how they do it. It's complicated for learning disabilities because there's too many options. You have to know the times, you have to know if it's a 2D or 3D, if you want a popcorn or a popcorn meal or popcorn mega meal, sweets or drinks. This is less confusing.
Now right, I'm not just saying this to show off, but I'm really into my foreign films at the moment. I like to come to my cinema for a bit of escapism. So after work, I'll come down here, and for a couple of hours, I'll be transported to places like India, or Italy, or somewhere that's really wild and remote. All cinemas are different, of course, and I like to visit a variety of them. But if it's a cinema I'd not been to before, sometimes it can be hard to know how to access every part of it, particularly when staff don't know how to help, or even what facilities are available in the cinema. It just makes you feel like you're an afterthought.
All them Captain, What's His Face, Super, Who's It, fantasy films, I can't be doing with them. I want a proper British drama film. That's what I like. If there's a film that I really want to see, you know, not one that has flying blokes in ridiculous outfits, I tend to go to a subtitle screening. English subtitles aren't always available at every cinema, so I found out which cinema is showing a film that I fancy and make plans to go to the subtitled screening. But when I get there and the subtitles aren't working, or they've just failed halfway through, or they've been cancelled, well, you can imagine I feel pretty annoyed, especially when there isn't an explanation. Being able to see the latest films complete with subtitles is why I come to the cinema. If the subtitles aren't switched on or the show's been cancelled and staff aren't sure what to do or what to say about it, it just ruins the experience for me. And it just feels like I've wasted my time.
Disabilities aren't always visible. Don't make assumptions about anyone's needs. Be proactive in being helpful. Look for positive solutions if difficulties arise.
My name's Aretha Naughty. I have nerve damage in my arm due to complications at birth.
My name is Stephen Collins and I'm deaf.
My name is Miriam. My disability is that I am registered blind.
My name is Judy. I'm a paraplegic.
My name is Claudia Keston and I do have a very big problem with my hearing.
Hi, my name's Anthony and I have Tourette's.
Hello, my name's Orlando Bolt and I work with people on the autistic spectrum.
My name is Mark. I can really only speak for people who have hearing loss, such as myself.
Hello, my name's Colin Fowler and this is my assistant's dog, Bee, or her full name's Beatrix, but I call her Bee.
Just because I've got a hearing problem, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy going to the cinema.
My favourite films are Total Recall, Die Hard with a Vengeance,
Mafia films, I just absolutely adore mafia films.
Running Man, Kindergarten Cop.
Pretty Woman off the top of my head. In the beginning of the film, it was all about like material things and how she looked and stuff, but later on, you got to see the inside of her, how she really was as a person, and I want people to see me like that in life.
I think a lot of people have assumptions and presumptions and everything.
They're aware of trying not to offend a person with a disability.
Just think of them as like a normal person, because a lot of people don't. They think that you're kind of abnormal.
People forget that it's a hidden disability and it gets ignored.
I don't think people know I have a hearing problem until I tell them, because I'm quite vague and I don't often wear my hearing aids.
I think it's underestimated the help that I may need in the cinema.
The perception is that the staff believe that the guide dog is going to be able to help me find my seats, probably knows the ticket number of, or the seat number off the tickets.
Very occasionally, subtitles won't work or there's a technological breakdown.
Sometimes you get a...
By far the biggest problem is getting a headset or a listening device, whatever they happen to have, getting into the cinema auditorium, then discovering that the batteries are flat or the system doesn't work.
And they have to make some telephone calls to the projectionist to check to see if they're able to play the audio description.
At that point, you either get up and go and complain, disturbing everybody else, and missing the initial part of the film, or you just grit your teeth and bear it.
I remember one time I went to the place, I'd bought the ticket, I'd gone into the cinema, I'd sat down, and the subtitles didn't start. So I went out and I talked to one of the members of staff, and then the manager came out and she said, "Oh, sorry, but we agreed to drop the captions this morning from this film." So I said, why didn't the people and the staff tell us before we bought the tickets? Before we bought our popcorn, before we went in and sat down, before we were going to be greatly disappointed.
I went up to one of the staff that was working there, but was told that he couldn't help me because he was busy. So then I turned away and I came home and I never went back to that cinema again.
I think it's better if they ask if I need any help, because that way I will feel that there is assistance for me to get help, rather than me having to like ask, because it just makes me feel uncomfortable having to ask and then explaining why I need the help.
The best way of attracting a deaf person's attention from a member of staff is just really tapping the person on the shoulder, just a gentle tap. You can wave your hand.
It will be handy if they actually did know your name, but if they don't, they can just tap you on the shoulder.
Some basic tips to communicate with deaf people is don't cover your mouth. People might want to lip read you. Some deaf people speak, some deaf people will sign. But don't speak fast or look in all different directions when you're speaking. Speak clearly. Use a pen and paper. Also, pointing is important, and gesturing, pointing to where the cinema is, for example. And just make sure that you are face to face with a deaf person and that you've got eye contact, and then you'll feel that you've got the communication there.
Shouting doesn't help. In fact, it makes things much, much worse in that the words become completely indistinguishable. What I would ask anybody behind the counter to do is speak slowly and distinctly. It makes comprehension very much easier. It immediately, if you like, generates a positive feeling between customer and employee.
What I do tend to ask for is, when I'm accompanied by an assistance dog, that I sit in the front row so there's no problem with space for my dog. My dog can stretch out, and I think that's a really good rule of thumb.
I would say some of the top tips that I could give for somebody talking to a visually impaired person or trying to guide them is try and ask how they want to be guided. I do know some people who walk with their stick and the person's arm. A lot of the times it's because they don't trust them not to make them bump into things, so they prefer to have the stick as like an extra guide.
It's not good practice to just go and distract the dog and start stroking it. Certainly ask the guide dog owner or the assistance dog user if they'd mind you saying hello to the dog and patting the dog.
It has happened to me where people haven't said if we're going up or downstairs. I think people should actually make it a point of contact to actually say if it's up or down. That would be better. And also, don't say step, step, step at every single step, because that is majorly irritating.
It's a condition, it's not fun. You can't just switch it off like a tap.
Sometimes when they ask me if I need any assistance, they'll be like, do you need any help? And I'd rather they just ask in a normal voice, like, do you need any assistance? Like they would ask anyone else.
I try not to talk to them like a child, because it's a bit patronising sometimes, and they do understand. So just try to be as natural as possible. That's what I would say.
So the attitude is just as important as what we're given in exchange for things breaking down. If you arrive and only to be faced with disappointment, it's really important to have the right attitude and to be understanding.
And I feel like if a customer's been offered help and they've said no, they shouldn't be offended. They should just accept that they don't need the help, but also they shouldn't use that no with everyone else. They should still ask everyone else if they need help too, because everyone's different.
Don't assume you know better than the disabled person. Don't disempower that disabled person by taking control of the situation, speaking on their behalf, or even speaking to a carer or a family member rather than speaking to that disabled person direct.
The attitude of the staff are very important because it all affects, it's all part of you going out to have a nice time.
Find out what the customer needs and if they would like help. Don't assume anything. Don't be embarrassed to ask, how can I help? Respect others' dignity. Health and safety is critical. Refer to your manager if you're not sure what to do. I'm really into sci-fi because when you realise we are but masses of matter condensed into a slow vibration experiencing itself purely subjectively, you realise there must be higher forms of life in our universe. This cannot be it. Only joking. I just really like sci-fi films because I think they look cool. What is less cool is when technical adjustments go wrong in the cinema. Now, there are a few different systems used by various cinemas, and sometimes there's going to be a problem that staff can't fix without the help of an expert. That's the inevitable downside of technology. But something that staff can do is know how to check that the equipment is working and be able to show the customer how to use it so that they can have the best possible experience. Now, if you haven't experienced the different adjustments yourself, they can seem confusing. AD, ST, induction loop, it all sounds a little bit techy, and tech stuff can be daunting. But I've been working here for a while, I've used them all, so I'm going to answer some FAQs, that's fictitiously asked questions, in order to give you a heads up. First question, what is ST? ST is subtitling, and it's there to assist customers with a hearing impairment, and it makes all the difference because it enables them to follow the film more fully because they can see the dialogue and relevant sounds described on screen. Do all cinemas show ST films? No, not all screens show ST films, but the number is increasing. In fact, cinemas in the UK have one of the highest rates for screening subtitled films. We've only been doing it since 2000. So although it's fairly new, already it's having a huge impact on people that use the facility. What do I have to do for ST screenings? Most importantly, you need to find out which screens in your cinema can show subtitled films. Then you need to familiarise yourself with the screening schedule so you can answer any questions that customers may have. Now, if for some reason you hear that a film has been moved screens, you need to check that it can still run as a captioned screening and then make sure that someone has checked that it works. If someone is booking an ST screening, there's a good chance that they have a hearing impairment. So, speak clearly when you're talking to them, make sure they can see your face in case they can lip read, and always keep a pen and paper handy in case you're struggling to understand each other. Next up, what is AD? AD is audio description, and many movies now come with an audio described soundtrack. Basically, a narrator describes what's happening on screen when there's no dialogue, a bit like a commentator at a football match. If you're showing a film that has AD, you'll need to check the following: where the AD headphones are kept, what your sign-out procedure is, where the best seats are for using the headphones, and that they're clean and that they work. The majority of headphones are battery operated, which makes them easy to check. If the power light doesn't come on, check that the batteries are working, and then check that the battery cover is fixed securely. Also, make sure that the volume switches are up in both ears and that it's set to the right channel. Oh, and double check that the AD has been switched on in the auditorium. These are the most common problems. For anything else, try swapping the whole headset or ask your manager for advice. What is an induction loop? Okay, so firstly, there are several systems for customers with a hearing impairment, and these will vary from venue to venue. There's an induction loop, which is usually located at ticket offices and refreshment points, but can also be located in the screen itself. Now, essentially, this links a customer's hearing aid to a system that removes background noise, enabling them to more clearly hear both the film's soundtrack and members of staff. There is another system that is usually used in the auditorium that works by infrared. The entire auditorium is bathed in infrared light, which then transmits the sound to some special equipment such as headphones or a neck loop. This then enables the wearer to more clearly hear the soundtrack of the film. This equipment also needs to be well maintained. This same infrared system may also be used to deliver audio description to visually impaired people. Check out which facilities and equipment your cinema provides, as they do vary from cinema to cinema. What if the equipment isn't working? Well, the induction loops and infrared systems usually have to be fixed by an expert. You'll have to ask your manager who is responsible for this in your cinema. But if it is broken, there are still things you can do to enable you to communicate more clearly with the customer. For example, you could use shorter sentences. You could point towards the object or screening time you're referring to, or you could turn your screen round so they can see the options more clearly, or of course you could use a good old trusty pen and paper. What should I do if a customer has asked to use one of the facilities and I've forgotten how it works? First up, don't try and blag it, ever. Just be polite and honest if you can't help them out. Also, do apologise if you have to keep them waiting, and try and secure the correct information as quickly as possible. And if you do discover a problem with a piece of equipment, make sure you let the rest of your team know. That way everyone will be aware of the situation and a solution can be put in place. Now, this video can't cover all issues to do with access, but if you follow the points raised in the video, you'll be well on your way to handling any situation, both professionally and courteously. Understand the access facilities in your venue and know how they work. Find out where equipment such as headsets and batteries are kept. Check equipment is working and help customers learn how to use it. Know your role in the event of an emergency evacuation.
My favourite kind of films are like thrillers and horrors. I just find them really funny. Love coming to the cinema, even on my days off, and just sitting and watching some intense horror film with people ripping arms off and getting slaughtered and blood everywhere, and just waiting for that ultimate moment where it makes you jump out of your seat. I love working at the cinema, yeah, but I hate it when you see someone with a disability and you're not sure if you should ask them if they're okay or not. I think the best thing you can do is just be friendly and pleasant to everyone and just be ready to assist anybody who might need it. What's really helpful is a lot of people who are disabled carry around a CEA card, so listen out and look out for anybody who might mention it, because it might mean they need assistance from you. Is the CEA card valid at all cinemas? No, it is a nationally recognised card and accepted by a majority of cinemas. Some cinemas won't accept it, but they will have another policy in place, hopefully, so just ask your manager what to do. When somebody doesn't have a card, but they obviously need assistance, just help them. It's good customer service. If I get handed the card, what am I meant to do with it? Firstly, the card will have a photo on it of the person that is disabled, not the companion. Check it's right, check the date, and then you should be able to issue the free ticket and let them in. Some cinemas will ask you to write more details down, but just ask your manager what the policy is. Do I need to ask any other questions to verify their disability status? Absolutely not, and that can be seen as discrimination. It's also asking about very personal information. Now you've watched this video, hopefully you'll be more aware of the issues surrounding disabled access into cinemas and being more confident in knowing how you can help.
Check if your cinema accepts the CEA card or whether it has other policies to help disabled people. The CEA card allows a free seat for the customer's companion. Check the card is valid before issuing the ticket.